Hey guys, welcome to another game review. Today I've got a game between TUGR and FLO. These two were matched up in the semi-finals of the Antichess World Championships this year. This particular game is not from that series, but a different game that they were playing. So I wanted to walk through it. It's got a very interesting endgame, and it just seems like TUGR seems to find his way out of like different positions and find stuff that I can't see. And then the ending actually kind of reminded me a little bit of a loser's mate, which loser's chess is similar to anti-chess, except the king does have like royal power, so the object's to lose all your pieces except for your king at the end. And so pawns can get blocking each other and the game's not over. Like there's not a stalemate, and there's some positions where you basically take your rook and you push their king over next to your pawns in order to get to win. And that's kind of reminded me of that in an anti-chess game, which I've never really seen before. So let's just kind of jump into it here. So TUGR's white and opens up with c4. And then FLO brings out his knight. I'm not really that great with c4, so I don't know the right moves to be making here. But TUGR continues to push his pawn, and then FLO trades these pieces and opens up the diagonal here, where if the G pawn is pushed, he's got both his bishop and his knight covering this space, which this is a pretty common setup that players go for. TUGR basically just ignores it and pushes up his pawn, his G pawn. So FLO dumps the bishop and then grabs the knight, and so then he brings out his knight. Now I feel like this is a common spot when people are opening up with h3 with their knight. You kind of see both knights come out and you kind of trade. And I think typically, like if I'm white here, I'm looking to attack on the f pawn, and just because it looks like if I attack here, he attacks there and they trade, and then like maybe my rook's in trouble. But TUGR goes for the h-file trade, and here's where I was talking about, like, all right, it looks like maybe the rook's in trouble, but then if you notice, like there's too many pieces that end up covered, so he's going to end up being fine. But so FLO dumps that bishop, allows him to swallow up another pawn, and then brings his queen out. TUGR only has the one capture, and the order doesn't really matter here, but FLO wants to keep his king, so he trades that off, and then TUGR pushes his pawn, seeing that like this bishop is actually safe on this diagonal, and FLO's not going to want to give up his king. So we see that, and then FLO just moves his king back. And so I was looking at this. TUGR has material advantage, like he's got a lot more pieces, but this queen kind of scares me when I'm looking at it. It's like, how are you going to get rid of the queen? Like, should you bring it out to the A file and attack up here? The problem with that is then you're going to end up losing some more pieces, and it's just not. I just don't like this position at all, to be honest. And like I don't know what I'm going to do with this queen. So TUGR pushes his pawn, and then FLO pushes his A pawn, kind of threatening to come out and grab the queen here. And TUGR continues to ignore it, saying that like if he pushes up here, we just trade pieces or whatever. But then so FLO goes ahead and sticks a piece in between, so that now this is being threatened. And again, this is where like I'm like, I don't like white's not feeling very comfortable here. Like you've kind of got this threat here, but your queen's covering this space, so you can't push up there, so it just doesn't look all that great. And then so then TUGR just slides his queen over, and it turns out all of these squares are double covered. So I think that's just an amazing little find right there. So FLO goes ahead and just dumps the rook. And now TUGR goes ahead and runs the pawn a little bit and trades these pieces away. And now we've got 2 pawns on the A file. And this kind of just looks like it's maybe like a drawish type of position. And I guess not. Like maybe, I mean, White's got chances to promote and get ahead, but he's got to be careful. So so he starts pushing the pawns. FLO's going to bring his king up here into the game. Now this square is being threatened, so TUGR just dumps the knights. And this is just kind of a strange position again. It's like these endgames, like really a FLO can just get rid of his king. He should be okay, but how do you get rid of it? And so he just keeps pushing these pawns, which I don't know if that's a great idea or not. Again, like this is just a weird end game. So we're just pushing pawns, and again, kind of like as White, like you can get rid of your king here at any time, and then just push this pawn up. And the king's so far away that he's not going to be able to release it or whatever. So like the king sitting here on c2 is a good spot for it. So he keeps pushing the pawns. I'm not sure what FLO's plan is really. Like he can't come to this file because the rook's over here to make him run through the rest of the pieces, and kind of just contracts the space, gives FLO less options, and then goes and dumps the rook and then promotes to another one. And so basically TUGR's set up where like if he can get rid of these 2 pieces, again, like I said, his king is sitting on this spot where he can go here and then here. So as long as FLO's king is not in one of these 3 squares to then move, he can get the win. But it's like how are you going to manage that? So a few more moves. We take a bishop, and you kind of see like it's almost like a king. It's just this king versus the bishop and the rook, as if these pieces aren't even on the board, and you kind of just move to go do that pin where like wherever the king is, you want your bishop to come and be lined up. So if you were to go here, you can like kind of, well, go there. It can't in this spot because you would be attacking that piece, but that type of pattern. So same thing. So lining up opposite the king. So now the king doesn't have any safe space to go, and you can get rid of the bishop. And when I was looking at this, I didn't know, like, do you want to get rid of the bishop? Like, yes, you want to get rid of the bishop, but then you need to get rid of the rook also. And can you get rid of the rook in this position? And TUGR found out that you could. And so, again, constricting space. So FLO can't come into any of these squares, so he has to move back. So TUGR moves over. Again, FLO can't come into any of these squares, so he goes down, and then TUGR slides up. Still same position. FLO can't come in any of these squares. Moves down, and now we've got him pinned. So FLO resigns in this spot. Basically, like if he moves into any of these squares, the rook can just kind of come down to wherever it needs to go, and then potentially, like if we're here, we can move the king up. If we're up higher, we can just then again move the king over and then up. So I just thought that was a really cool end game. Again, it's kind of like trapping the king and moving along, but you've got these extra pawns on the board. Doubled up pawns. It's just a strange position. I don't know that I've see that happen very often. It was very, very well done. And again, reminded me of a loser's mate as far as just pushing the king over closer to the pawn. So great game by TUGR, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks.